saw Grassland, I, I, it was a strong film that really captivated my attention from the beginning. Uh, you did a phenomenal acting job. Let me start with that. And I was so feeling for your character as Sophia. But I'm gonna start with Sam and Will because I was also captivated with the fact that you're inspired by your own lived stories.
Yeah. Yeah, this film came about when Will and I were really inspired by my situation when I was younger. My mom grew marijuana in our small house, the same house that we actually shot the film in. Um, and, and Will can speak more to his personal experience, but I think this idea of not really understanding why your parents do the things they do when you're so young, and especially when it was something to do with illegality, something that I couldn't really be share with my friends. I couldn't bring friends over. It created this kind of tension and resentment between me and my mom that took a little bit for me to understand that she was just doing what was best for us and our family. Um, and that is really kind of the crux of the whole thing is from Leo's perspective, better understanding your parents and why they do the things they do, even if you don't necessarily agree with them. And Will kind of brought in his own personal experience, which I'll let him talk about too.
Yeah, my dad worked in the film industry for, for my whole life as an electrician, as a crew member, and so he worked really long hours, and I really related to Sam's feelings of, resentment and not really understanding why your parents out of the house for that long as a kid, and then really growing up and seeing how much of that was for me and my sister and raising us, and then on top of that, my dad coming to America from Argentina as a kid and experiencing similar things himself with his dad moving them around a lot for work around South America and in America. So I think it's definitely an intergenerational inspiration, but yeah, it was a very, very personal film and important.
And Mia, listening to these stories, is there something that you remember growing up where you were just like that kind of made you question some of your maybe your parents' actions? I think we can all relate.
I think we can all relate in like, in small doses. And I have to say, like Sophia and Leo's, you know, upbringing, because I feel like Sophia is actually, growing up with Leo as well as her, as his mom. Because she has this kind of like teenager complex to her still, even though she's a grown-up woman. It's very different from the way I was, my childhood in Argentina, in Buenos Aires. But what I did relate to more as from woman to woman to Sophia is the situations where like maybe they, you see yourself and you find yourself in, you start doing one thing and suddenly it becomes bigger and bigger and bigger and then you cannot get out of it. And I think that's how it happened to her. We're like, okay, like, yeah, I'm just growing marijuana for myself, because I like to relax at night. Or maybe, she had pains in her body, which a lot of people, marijuana is a great medicine for that. And then she sold it to one neighbor, to one neighbor, to another neighbor. And then the business just grew and she realized she was stuck in it and she was making a lot more money than what she would in order to support her son. So that I really related to. I just thought it was what, the script that Will and Sam wrote. It's so compassionate and so empathic. And even though she's doing something illegal, you really feel for her. Because I feel like we've all been in that situation. We're stuck in a cycle that we cannot get out of it. And by doing so, she endangers her best friend. And yeah, it's to me, it's a story of love, empathy, compassion, and understanding, and knowing that sometimes our parents try to do the best, but the best of their possibilities. And as kids, it's just really hard for us to understand that that's what they're doing.
Parents and grandparents, right? Like you have in this film, which brings up another version of, you know, how law enforcement can be affected with their personal life, and having this idea that it's the right thing to do based on background, based on just looking questionable, or just your judgment. Can you guys talk a little bit about the characters of John?
Yeah, I think John was an interesting character because I think it could have easily been, you know, very one-dimensional as a cop who's the antagonist, and we really wanted to, with all the characters, Sam and I kind of had a pact to make them as three-dimensional as possible. Well, you know, you can see the things he's doing are wrong, but you can understand the life that that man lived to have those views and the society that created him and shaped him. And I think seeing how these different systems of racism, patriarchy, capitalism affect each character in negative ways is really, really interesting. So yeah, seeing John's demise was very important to us, but also seeing his humanity, you know, was equally important.
You left me hooked with that storyline. I'm gonna ask you when we're done what happened. So Mia, going back with you, how did you form this character? How did you develop her?
I think, yeah, I think it was that collaboration with, you know, between the three of us, Samuel and I. And we took a lot of inspiration from Sam's mom, who I adore, you know, with my whole heart, her style, and some pictures of her back in, you know, 2000s. And yeah, and I think that was basically our inspiration. And yeah, and I was just really excited to play someone that is just not concerned about the way she's, you know, looking, or, you know, that she just has kind of like a uniform. She has a pair of jeans and a t-shirt, and she wears that every day. And it just felt very liberating for me as an actor, in terms of just you know, concentrating on just like what's at hand. And for her, it's just like the, you know, the business that she has, and her son. And those were kind of like the only things that were her head and heart was at. So it was quite unique that way. And also, you know, we shot in New Jersey, where Sam is from, and the locations were quite real. They're like part of like, you know, their family home. And that was, I think, really helpful acting wise for all of us, because it just felt very intimate and just very real.
Wow, Sam, where's your mom? I feel like she should be interviewed too.
No, I know. If she was more comfortable in front of the camera, we could do that. But she's a very
Very
private person.
awesome human being, very politically involved.
Yeah.
That really strong, you know, philosophical beliefs. She's a true hero. She's incredible.
So Sam, what does your mom say about the film? I imagine she's already seen it.
Yeah, she has. She was very emotionally taken by it, and beyond the film, to what Mia said, like she was there for the entire process of filming, for the process of pre-production. So she really not only was there like a proudness from her at like what we were doing, watching us through our filmmaking career and watching Will and I through college and making a bunch of short films at this house in our college years. But I think it was a very almost liberating process for her, because this period in our life together where she was growing, I didn't really understand it. The threat of constant, are we going to be found out? If we do get found out, what is the penalty from that? And especially, um, yeah, it was, we had never really gone into that at such an emotional level as this film did. So I think there were many moments where we would go to each other at the end of a take and just hug each other, because it felt like something was being brought up that had never really been verbalized to each other. So I think for both of us, it was a healing experience too. Because I think it's just so incredibly vulnerable for myself and in turn vulnerable for her as well.
Will she be attending the premiere on Sunday?
Sadly she won't. She was supposed to, but my dad is undergoing some treatment. She needs to be there for him. She will definitely be at the next one though.
Okay, sorry, talking about your mom. But I'm just fascinated
Oh yeah, please.
by that. I mean, look at you. You're doing great. She was super proud of you.
Thank thank
You're
you.
welcome. And I love how it covers a little bit about me and Leo. There's a scene in the bedroom where she's like, sometimes we lie to protect ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's pretty strong.
Yeah. I love that scene. I love that scene when she's like, we're not criminals, but sometimes we just need to tell a white lie here and there. And she knows it's not right what she's saying, but she also needs to protect him because she's really scared. Their whole reality is at jeopardy at that moment in time, having John living next door to them. And also it's the pain of like maybe knowing your choices are not the best choices for your kids and knowing that you're not sometimes a great mother. So I think Sophia goes through that. But one of my favorite parts of the film was, she's a really good mom with him in terms of manners. So I would love that, the scenes where she's like, you're like, oh, Sophia's actually, uh, it's she's actually a really good mom, because when you would have like Ravi and Sean, playing together, the two kids, you could tell like Sophia had educated, her kid pretty strongly, and he had incredible manners. So that I loved. And I think what excites me the most about this film is the impact that it can bring, and just raising the conversation of, you know, racial disparity in terms of, incarceration rates in the United States. Um, Black people are 7 times more likely to be incarcerated for marijuana possession, Latin people 4 times white people. I do some work in juvenile halls and level 4 prisons as you know, as a service to the LA County, and I yet have to see a white kid in juvenile hall. I've been going for 3 years. So I think this movie will raise those questions and conversations. Also raise the conversation of the, 40,000 or more people that are still incarcerated for marijuana charges in the judicial system in the United States, in total limbo, where, the marijuana business, it's growing and growing, over 27 billion, and we still have people in jail, for, a low marijuana possession as a second charge. So we hope this movie, like make these conversations happen after people watch it.
Well, Sam, I think that's one of your intentions, right, of making this film.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's why we make art in general. I think having that real world impact, obviously you want to tell an emotional story, but you want to, tell something that's real and that's impacting people's lives, and that can really start a dialogue about something. And I think this offers a couple different avenues, whether it's marijuana or guns or a lot of different American issues at play here. But I think starting that conversation through art can be especially eye-opening compared to people seeing statistics or coming in from a certain political stance, and really seeing someone's life experience and how that's affected emotionally, I think can change perspectives a lot more thoroughly.
Just to add on to that and what Mia was saying, I think what Will and I were also inspired by, and heartbroken by, was kind of this wide acceptance, especially in New Jersey now and LA where we live, of legal marijuana kind of being widely accessible. And the fact that this is now a multi-billion-dollar industry while still 40,000 people are locked up for marijuana charges. And I don't know. We thought that was so unfair and heartbreaking, and bringing people back to this time in 2008 when it was more broadly illegal kind of was a chance to show the parallel between that time and this time, because people may be used to legal weed, people are not really thinking about it anymore, yet this problem still persists and is very important.
I think that you also cover how society also just judges you based on your history. I mean, here we had Brandon trying to, straighten out, get a regular job, but yet he was getting the door shut. So that's one of the roots.
Yeah, I mean,
Absolutely.
I think that's what we're not even with that 40,000 stat, we're not even mentioning the, many, many, many people who have it on their records and aren't able to get jobs or vote. I think that's huge and isn't really, in legalizing weed, that's a great thing, but we're not dealing with the problem that really really was at hand. We're trying to kind of put a band-aid over it. So I think it's a complex process, but hopefully this starts a conversation.
How about one of the filmmakers just invite people to go to the TCL to watch your movie on Sunday?
Yeah, it's premiering at La Leaf at the Chinese Theater on Sunday, June 2nd, and we are so unbelievably excited and grateful to the festival. You can follow along on Instagram at Grassland Film if you want to see some updates about where we're going. And we're very excited.
That's great. Well, thank you so much and congratulations.